Thank you all for coming tonight. My name is Esther Sodor, and I am a current graduate student with SEED, overseeing the event studio here in Hogue Hall. And of course, I will go on into more detail later on in the presentation as to the different aspects of Galapagos and what the event studio entails, and also what the living learning community entails as well. So thank you all again for coming tonight. All right, so here we are talking about Hypatia and Galileo, engineering living learning communities here at Virginia Tech in Hogue Hall. And so a little bit about SEED. SEED is the Center for the Enhancement of Engineering Diversity Office. And so communities are part of the student support structure within SEED. And so here we also have the link that you all can access straight to SEED, and I can put that in the chat after the presentation as well if you need access to the website. And so SEED has been comprised of 30 years of student support programs here at Virginia Tech, and it is comprised of two segments, which is Hypatia, which is the female dominant living learning community, and Galileo, which is the male counterpart. And so Hypatia has been around Virginia Tech for 21 years, established in 2001, and Galileo trailed it right after in 2005. And also within this presentation at the end, we will have a time for question and answer. And we also have panelists here who are students within the living learning community, whom you will also meet later on in the presentation. And so Hypatia and Galileo are designed to help students successfully transition from high school to college, and then from college to career. And so later on in the presentation as well, I will touch on the seminar class that is also offered within the living learning community, which helps with growing and allowing students to grow professionally, understand how to network, also learn about great academic skills that will help them within their career in college, learning about time management, and also all of the other umbrellas, other topics housed under that umbrella as well. It also allows for your transition and makes a large university feel more like home. When students are living and engaging within the living learning community, they are able to meet fellow engineers and also other students that are also in the same situation as them, just transitioning from high school to college, and also just coming to Virginia Tech for the first time and learning about and entering engineering as well. Students are also able to explore areas of their professional development as an engineer with a focus on topics of diversity. And so living learning communities, students are able to live together in one building. And so the students who are a part of Galapagos are able to live within Hogue Hall, which is off of Washington Street. For myself, I was able to also be a part of Hypatia my freshman year, which was in 2016. And I was able to live in Hogue Hall for all 4 years of my college career, and I enjoyed it immensely. I was able to meet other students and learn from them and get help. And everyone was just so willing and able to help also, since we are all in the same situation and same classes. And it was just a great way to learn and network with my fellow peers as well. And what was great about it was that it is engineering dominant, and only engineering students live within this hall space, and then also have direct access to the maker space as well on the second floor to be able to work on foundations of engineering homework or projects, or even do any neat stuff that the students would want to do in their free time as well. And like I said, I was able to live here for 4 years, so students can live in the community multiple years, and also either work with the community or for the community, or also volunteer in various aspects. And so there are also leadership opportunities after your first year. You can be a part of the Galapagos leadership team and become either a upperclassman leader or a committee liaison, which oversees various committees that are within the living learning community, which we will also go into detail. And so in 2020 to 2021, the retention and GPA impact. Retention from the first year to second year within College of Engineering. Hypatia had a 99% retention rate, and Galileo with a 98%. And so the control group was a 96% of students staying within the College of Engineering. So this was no seed program participation. And so compared to students who are not within the living learning community, you can see that we have definitely a very high percentage of students staying within the College of Engineering and also choosing their specific engineering discipline as well. And so the average GPA for fall 2019 was a 3.25 for students who are within the community as compared to, again, the control group to 3.14. And so communities by the numbers for 2022 to 2023, currently Galileo male students, we have 404 first years, and then upperclassmen who decided to stay within the community, we have 52. And so half of the third floor and fourth floor comprise of male students, and then all of the floors from the fifth floor to the seventh floor are all for our male students. And then for Hypatia, we have 256 first year students and 56 upper class leaders who decided to stay within the community. And so those students would stay in the first and second floor, and then half of the third and fourth floor. Again, if you all have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat and we will attend to those at the end of the presentation. And so for the goals of our community, bring first year and upper class engineering students together in a residential environment, build community of peers to assist with assignments, projects, and adjusting to college, develop skills for academic success, professionalism, and personal growth, access to upper class engineering students who serve as mentors and committee members. And I, for one, can definitely attest to each and every single goal that is listed up here that the Galapagos Living Learning Community will definitely provide these opportunities for your students. So currently applications are opened to join the Living Learning Community for the next school year. Definitely and highly recommend, as you can see from just the statistics alone and what you will hear also from our student panel as well, this organization and Living Learning Community definitely utilizes and has so many resources available for students to just join, to help propel them and let them excel in their education as well while they are here in Virginia Tech. They also have great resources in getting one-on-one individual opportunities to interact with various careers and also various companies who come to the Living Learning Community to speak to the students. And then students can also have a chance to enhance their resume, work on their resume, and start their professional development as well. So application and community requirements must be an engineering student. And the way to apply is applying via Star Res, so after admission acceptance, or apply before accepting the offer. Again, this can be found on Star Res. So once you are admitted into the community, you will complete a 2-credit course taught by engineering graduate students for your first semester, which is called the Galapagos seminar class, and is taught either by a graduate student or a seed staff. And then you will also be meeting weekly with a Galapagos mentor for your first 10 weeks of your first semester, just to help you have an easier transition and also be able to meet other fellow engineers and get to meet people that would probably be able to enjoy friendships with and also be participating in your classes as well. And so within Hogue Hall, we have a maker space or the Invent Studio 1 and 2. And so Studio 1 is the design space, which entails and holds 3D printers. We have laser cutters, soldering, a soldering area, power tools, and CNC machines. And so we are also acquiring new 3D printers next year and poster plotters, which is really exciting. And the students definitely utilize the space heavily, just to either do their own creations and creative ideas, or they come in to work on their projects that are given to them in the foundations of engineering class. And I will say one thing that is awesome is that in comparison to students who are engineers that do not live in this space, the students have access to a studio that is literally within the living learning community and within their dorm, that they can just get out of their room and go directly straight to the studio, as opposed to the main studio for all of the engineers or freshman engineers, which is Frith, the Frith Lab. And that studio can definitely become very full of students when it is time to get projects done. And sometimes students have to wait in order to get in, but with access to the studio inside the dorm, students are able to even bring their other groups in and work on their projects quickly and urgently, and have access to a lot of materials as well. And then in Studio 2, this is a collaborative space and study space, and we also offer tutoring sessions within the Studio 2 as well. So as I said before, I'm also a graduate student who oversees the event studio, so managed by graduate students, and also a team of upper class leaders. And one thing also, if a student wants to participate in work study, we have work study positions within the event studio as well, for students to learn how to utilize the equipment in the space, and also create events for other freshmen to attend to and learn how to utilize the various equipment in the space as well. We also hold corporate and faculty events within Hogue Hall and also the studio. Sometimes we'll have corporate companies and sponsors come into the studio to either teach students or talk to students and have that one-on-one interaction. Or we also have faculty members also come into Hogue Hall to speak to students as well. And so for the upper class structure, second year students are peer selected and must live in the community, serving in a committee position. And so the various committees that Galapagos is comprised of is academic support, communications, data, design challenge, outreach, professional development, service learning, social, stable mind initiative for mental health, or better known as SMI, and then studio training. And second year students can also apply to be a mentor for the first year students. And then all mentors and committee members must live in the community. Third and fourth year students not on the leadership teams can apply to remain in the community as a mentor or committee member. And then the Galapagos leadership team helps mentor the upper class in committee and mentor roles. And so with the various leadership courses that you see here, these committees create events for the first year students to attend. And so the students will have requirements that requires them to at least go to 1 or 2 events per leadership course. So they will have to either go to professional development events, outreach events, service learning events, social events, just to help them become a more well-rounded individual, student, and engineer as well. And so here are some pictures of our makerspace. We have definitely also improved and renovated this space, and so there are much more equipment within the space now as well. But here you can see one of our laser cutters, and we also have our 3D printers located on this back wall. We also have a power tool station within the back area, as well as the soldering irons too. And here are just some pictures also of Studio One, which is the academic space for either tutoring or for companies to come and speak to students, or even faculty members to help out as well. We also have design teams within Hogue Hall for the first years to participate in. And so event-supported design competitions, we have the rocketry team, NASA Micro G, and we definitely are acquiring more for the next year as well. And so I will share my screen for a quick tour, virtual tour of Hogue Hall.
Hogue Hall, formerly known as Lee Hall, is an 8th-floor co-ed residence hall located on Washington Street Southwest. It is home to over 800 students in Galileo and Hypatia engineering learning communities. Right in front of the building, on the campus-facing side, there are recreational facilities for students to use at any time. Hogue Hall is a close walk to Castle Coliseum, Schiffer Health Center, Lane Stadium, and most dining halls on the campus side. There are 4 main entrances to this building. 2 can be found facing Washington Street, and another 2 towards campus.
To enter the building, a valid Hogue passport is required to swipe to open the door. Amenities such as laundry rooms can be found on the ground and first floor. To do laundry, the Hogue passport is swiped to pay for the machine used, or coins can be inserted into a specific machine for operation. Vending machines can be found on both sides of the first floor and are available to use 24/7. And water refill stations are available on all floors and sides.
All entrances, elevators, and other various locations throughout the building have hand sanitizer dispensers and reminders to practice safe social distancing. Walking through Hogue Hall, students can find many locations inside to study, such as private study lounges on each floor. Here, students can work on homework assignments or study together at any time while following safety procedures such as wearing masks and social distancing.
Our hall features Studios 1 and 2, or invent studios, which are exclusive to the Galapagos community. Here, students can learn to use laser cutters, 3D printers, and many other tools. They are also able to create their own projects with the tools provided. Another feature of Hogue Hall is a newly renovated study and activity space known as the second floor lounge. It is complete with a kitchen, private study room, ping pong table, multiple TVs, a single unisex bathroom, and plenty of seating to study and relax.
Student rooms are accessed through scanning the Hogue passport at the door and entering a personal PIN code. Each room is furnished with 2 beds, 2 desks, 2 chairs, 2 closets, and 2 dressers. There is also a sink and mirror with a medicine cabinet. There is plenty of room for personal customization and decoration of the room and its layout.
That's all for today, Hokies, and hopefully we'll see you on campus. Let's go, Hokies!
That concludes our presentation portion of tonight. And so we currently have 3 students who are a part of Galapagos currently. And so if you all have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. But for now, I will allow each one of them to introduce themselves and state what they do within the organization. And you all feel free to also turn on your cameras as well. Thanks, guys.
I guess I'll go first. I'm Hamilton Landis. I am the data committee liaison, or one of them. So I'm over my own group of committee members. I'm a 3rd year. I don't live in Hogue anymore, but I enjoyed my time here quite thoroughly. That's about it.
I'm Jamie Garrison, and I'm one of the social committee liaisons. And so what I basically do is help the sophomores and other upper class leaders host social events for the freshmen. And I don't live in Hogue either, but I did enjoy my time at Hogue.
Hey guys, I am Leo. I'm a junior in mechanical engineering, and I'm a mentor liaison right now. So I guess a little background. So if you guys decide to come to Tech and live in Hogue, you guys will each be paired up with a mentor. And as a mentor liaison, I'm kind of a mentor for your mentors. So that's my role.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. So I will see if we have any questions currently. There are no questions, so I can start off with just asking, how would you all say your first time joining Galapagos? What was your experience for your first year?
I enjoyed it. I think my favorite part of kind of being in this community was being with other engineers. So if I was struggling on homework, or if I wanted to complain about a class or how hard chem was, I could go and hang out with my friends all in the same hallway, and we'd all have a similar experience. Kind of helped me transition a little bit easier. Kind of give me a little platform to build and branch out off of coming into college.
Awesome. And Jimmy, you can answer.
Oh, I was just going to say my favorite part about the Galapagos program was having a mentor by my side, because my first year I had some issues with classes and just fitting into the college environment. So my mentor really walked me through how to get through those rough patches, and my Galapagos instructor also helped me out when I needed it.
Awesome. And Leo?
Yeah, I think it was really helpful because the learning curve from high school transitioning into college is, kind of steep. Especially like taking all these engineering classes. But I thought that, like Hamilton said, you seriously have friends and like people that are in your classes that are like right next door to you. So you can pretty easily just go over to them, and, they're probably going to be struggling on the same exact question too. So I think that's it's kind of like a we're all in this together type of relationship, and we're just trying to help each other out. And I think there was a question.
Yeah.
So someone said, you find the workload for the 2 credit class to be overwhelming on top of your other classes? I'd say no. Actually, I can answer this line. I'd say no. I thought that a lot of like the time that you dedicate towards that one, Galapagos class is, pretty small compared to like, what you would dedicate to calculus or chemistry. I thought it was like a kind of like a break from those classes. I think most of the assignments that you get through that 2 credit class are kind of meant to help you professionally, and they're not really meant to, distract you from, other classes. So.
And if anyone else wants to add on, feel free.
That sums up my feeling pretty well. When it did get kind of heavy, it wasn't without a purpose. Like we're creating a LinkedIn profile and building the resume. Some of those helped me get an internship later on. So it was time well invested when it did get, but it wasn't near as much as calc as he said.
And I think there is a question in the chat. So what kind of community service activities are available to the students to get involved in? I'd say there's a good amount. So when I was a sophomore, I was in the service learning committee, and the service learning committee is pretty much a committee that helps plan out community service events for freshmen. So for you guys, so I think that they try and pull out as many community service events as they can. So that's one big source, and I think the source for many people, especially for freshmen in Galapagos.
I will also add that there's also an outreach or committee as well, which helps to just give back to the community and allow students to either like go to elementary schools and talk to elementary students, or help out with various different events around the community as well. So there's definitely ample amount of opportunities for the students to engage in.
I see a question here about what is VT Gem. So I'll explain it a bit, and then Hamilton, you can, jump in since it's a bit more of your area of expertise. So VT Gems is this website where freshmen go to sign up for events. For example, we have a certain number of social events that you need to attend. So it's going to be 2 in the fall and 1 in the spring. And academic will probably have around the same number. And not only can you sign up for events that you need to fulfill credit for, like service learning, professional, academic, you can also go to studio design challenges. Those are fun to sign up for. And yeah, I think it's pretty user friendly overall. Hamilton, if you want to add anything.
That's about it. You summarized it pretty well. It's just our system. It's a website that we use to manage event signups and attendance tracking. It's available to all the freshmen. They just click on it and sign up for an event, and they can attend it.
Awesome. Another question we have is, was it easy making friends and meeting people outside of the LLC?
Yeah, actually, my best friend, I didn't meet him in the LLC, even though he was. I met him outside in one of my classes. Virginia Tech does a very good job of giving you opportunities to expand and meet new people. Between the numerous clubs here, different activities you can partake in around campus. It's not hard to make friends outside the LLP, but I wouldn't underestimate the advantage of having that foundation in case you feel nervous or you don't want to branch out. They're here for you, and it kind of helps you build something to build off of to kind of go venture out into those activities and clubs.
Anyone else would like to expand?
I think Hamilton, landed it pretty well. But yeah, I think, like Hamilton said, me personally, like some of my closest friends I met outside of Hogue Hall. So yeah, you definitely meet other people in your classes, right? So like as a freshman, you'll take like calculus, chemistry, physics, like an elective, foundations of engineering. And the College of Engineering here at Tech is pretty big, so you'll find people from all over the world here. But yeah, I wouldn't say it's too hard to meet friends and meet new people outside of Hogue.
Yeah, what Hamilton and Leo said, I don't think it's terribly difficult to meet people outside the living learning program. And I will add that any class you take most likely will have group work involved, or at least for engineering classes. So that's also a good way to connect with people.
Yeah. And I know Hamilton did touch on the clubs. There are a numerous amount of clubs within Virginia Tech alone, I believe more than 600. And so there will be an event called Galapagos where you are able to meet multiple clubs, join different clubs outside of engineering, and just hone in on other things that you would like to do and help you really have that balance of academic work, but also personal life as well. So I know for myself, I was able to delve into an a cappella group and a dance team. And so I was able to just have the well-rounded experience of having engineering, but also having other things outside of Hogue Hall, for example. Another question that we have is, what was the hardest part about living in the living learning community?
I mean, most of the living learning community is kind of an advantage. I think I remember being a little, the workload from that curricular course wasn't much, but I remember being like, I have some calc homework I'd rather do instead. But I could see the reasoning of why we did it then, and I still do now. I'm thankful for it. So I don't know if the hardest part would be a weird way to look at it for me, because most of the community invested and gave to me rather than being difficult.
Yeah, I'd say, I guess Hogue's pretty big, and I think that we all come from like different areas of the world and all that. So I think that For me, it was pretty like overwhelming because you like Hogue's like a 7, story building, and you have like 800 people in that dorm. So that's like my entire graduating class in high school, and it's kind of crazy. Just to, like, especially during moving, you see like all these different people just moving in with their parents and all that. So that was definitely like kind of like a shock to me just to see all these people in the same area. It was like a little overwhelming just to see all these people, and I think that just kind of ties in with transitioning from high school to college. I think that's something that we all kind of go through.
I think the only downside, if there really is any, because I'm sort of having to think a bit for downsides, is if you want to go somewhere, let's say like the grocery store, you would have to either take a very specific bus or you would have to know someone with a car, because parking isn't really cheap on campus. So I guess that would be the only real downside. Yeah. But I mean, like we said, we have a pretty good bus system in place, so I wouldn't worry about that too much.
Yeah, and I will add on and say that the living learning community was definitely an advantage and very helpful. If there was anything hard about living there, of course, there would be some class topics or subjects that were difficult. But living in the living learning community allowed me to work with other students who were in my class or not even in my class, but just were more knowledgeable within, let's say, MATLAB, or were better in calculus or physics. It was really easy to just have accessibility to my peers and allow them to teach me and myself to teach them as well. So definitely very helpful. Another question that we have is, what does the mentoring involve, and how often will students be able to see their mentors?
Yeah, so that's a good question, actually. So the mentoring program is like a 10-week program. So as a freshman, you will be in a group with, probably like 6, 7, 8 other mentees. So, 6, 7, 8 other freshmen. And each of you guys will be given one mentor, and that mentor is usually like a sophomore or a junior. And you meet with them at least once a week. I guess it also depends on how often you guys want to meet, but at least once a week, you guys meet with them. For me, the mentoring, experience is pretty good because, like I said, it's a big school, and there's a lot that you gotta learn. And my mentor really helped me with that, and he helped me kind of get started early on, and what I needed to do to do good in this class, or what places I might want to check out to study, or some like clubs that I want to join. So he kind of helped me out pretty well with that. And your mentor will probably live on your floor, so they'll probably be like a few doors down from you, so pretty easily accessible. Same with the other freshmen that are going to be in your mentor group. You all will probably be in the same floor.
Yeah, it summarizes it pretty much. I think we met every week for 10 weeks on Wednesday nights. I think we had 2 meals, one at the beginning of the semester, one after we all sat down with a group of our mentor and then a group of 8. I remember my mentor was right down the hall from me, and so we sometimes meet after, not during a meeting, and kind of talk and maybe go grab lunch or something. I mean, it was a pretty good introduction to college.
And I will say the plus side of having a mentor within the living learning community is that they are typically on the same floor as you. So you're able to confide in them or reach out to them if you have any questions. And they have also been in the same spot as the first year, since they are upper class leaders. And so they can definitely relate to certain situations and also point students into to the correct and right resources as well. And we had a question in the chat that says, I hear there are no air conditioners in Hogue. How was that in the late summer and spring?
It was a little warm, so it's about 2 weeks of pretty warm nights in the fall, and then I was hit with COVID for the spring, so I didn't get to see that. But I didn't get kind of warm. I was actually here over the summer. That was far worse than in the fall. I think it's not too bad. You leave your doors open, it kind of air out the hallways. It stays pretty cool, and then winter comes pretty quickly. And so I barely remember those 2 weeks of being that hot. But there are a few fans in the window, and I think it's not too bad.
Yeah, it honestly wasn't too bad. Our strategy was 2 box fans, and one had air going out through the window and one coming in, and that honestly kept it pretty nice and cool. So yeah, I didn't think it was that bad.
Yeah, when you walk by or pass by any dorm that does not have air conditioning, the first thing you'll see in the windows are box fans. So definitely utilize those. And I would say it wasn't too bad. I think the worst day is probably move-in day, just because there's a lot of bodies, there's a lot of people moving in. But once you're all moved in, it's doable. It's not too bad. Another question that we have is, what percentage of students that apply get in? And I'm not 100% sure on the percentage, but I do know it is a fairly high percentage of students that apply do get into the community.
Yeah, it kind of operates in rolling admission. So, there's room for about 600-ish freshmen, and the application's like open right now, and it's been open since, probably like November, December-ish. And it stays open until those 600 and 700 spots are filled up. So that could be like, next month, or it could be in like July. So definitely, like, the earlier you apply, the better.
Mm-hmm.
Because then it just becomes more competitive, as you get closer to the school year.
I will say, as someone who has reviewed applications for Galapagos, I would approve pretty much anyone, as long as I could tell that you gave very thoughtful answers to the questions that we ask. Then I would say that you're a good fit for the community. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Awesome. Thank you, Jamie. A question we have is there any reason for which you would not recommend Galapagos?
So as a community, it kind of does take up some of your time, and some of it's fun, some of it you want to be there, some of it you don't want to. It's kind of the ups and downs of being in any community, in a neighborhood or anything. And for some people who already have the resume built and already kind of can venture out on their own, and that's what they don't want to have to be worried about having to be involved in a community, maybe I'd recommend it. But that's a maybe. There's not too many downsides to Galapagos besides there's a little bit of extra work in those events, but a lot of the events are fun to go to, and they do have a point. You do get something out of them. Mm-hmm. So the only way I could see I would not recommend it is if you didn't want to go to those events, but they're generally good in the long run, and a lot of them are fun. So, yeah.
Yeah, I guess it depends on kind of like what you're looking for. If you're willing to put in the work, then definitely highly recommend. But yeah, it's a big community, and like you meet a lot of new people. And if that's, kind of not your thing, then, maybe not, but otherwise, do recommend.
And I'll add on that the events that students are to go to are created by, students, just upper class leaders. So of course they are creating events that they themselves have to be at as well. So, they're creating events that would engage students and have the students in mind to actually want to participate in as well. I believe that was the last question in the chat. Feel free to add any more questions. Um, I can also ask an additional question as to for the panel. What opportunities do you think you were able to get out of Galopatia? And it doesn't matter what kind of opportunity, just any opportunities you were able to get out of Galopatia.
Definitely being in the social committee, I got a lot of opportunities to learn how to manage my time better, organize better, plan around events, and being in a leadership role. I learned a lot of helpful leadership experience with and just how to work with others better and how to communicate better. And I don't think I would have really gotten that anywhere else. So I'm really happy to be the position I am now.
Freshman year, we had a engineering expo preview. And so we kind of got to our engineering expo here at Virginia Tech is you have lots of recruiters from different companies come in their booths, and you kind of go around and you give them an elevator speech, you give them a resume, and you try to get like an interview or just kind of get a feel for the job market at the time. I remember going to those and getting to practice, putting on formal wear and kind of talking to some recruiters. And then a year later, because of that experience, I was able to get an internship. A co-op actually, and it's recurring. So some of the stuff that I got from Galapagos directly affected my employment. Building a resume and getting that experience definitely helped.
Mm-hmm. Leah, you have any additions?
No, I think that Hamilton and Jamie kind of nailed it in pretty well. But I can answer this other question that's in the that we got asked. So with the workload, is there time to do a club sport? I think there definitely is. I think that engineering is definitely, a major that, requires a lot of time and like a lot of dedication and focus, but it kind of all comes down to, how well you can manage your time. And I think that that's how it goes for any major. So I think, yeah, like you can definitely like take on like different, clubs or sports. But I think it just all depends on like if you can handle it, then I'm sure you can. And I guess like how passionate you feel about what you're trying to do. And I think that if you're motivated and you're like, yo, I'm really interested in this one club and I really want to do well, then you'll find time for it and school. So you just gotta like think if it's worth it and if it's something that you're willing to dedicate time to.
My freshman year, I did club swim. I still am, and I think it wasn't a factor of Galopatia. It was more a factor of my course load at the time that would have impacted, but it didn't do much. I was able to go to as many practices as I wanted. I maybe missed one or two a week, depending on meetings and stuff. But you could do a club sport with engineering and Galopatia.
The next question is, are students in the College of Engineering at Virginia Tech allowed to work together on homework and assignments?
Yeah, it's actually really encouraged that other students in the College of Engineering work together on homework. You'll see professors say, hey, now we'll have time in class to do homework sometimes, or they will encourage you to reach out to office hours if you need to. And usually there's other students at office hours that you can also talk to. You can create, GroupMe or Discord channels to talk about homework assignments. And the only caveat I would be very careful with is honor code violations. So the honor code violation is it's a pretty blanket term. Like some professors will have their own discretion of what they consider cheating, and some are way more aggressive is the nice word about honor code violations than others. But for the most part, if you make sure that you submit your own work and you ask your professor let's say you collaborate on something and the answers are very similar, as long as you communicate with your professor, hey, me and so collaborate on this homework or this assignment, then your professor will most likely, think that's okay.
And again, it is pretty case by case for classes, but the professor will let students know, how they would like their work to be turned in, how they would like work to be worked on. But with living in the living learning community, of course, your first year, a lot of things like in your foundations of engineering class, you will be working with other people and can work with other people. You'll be a part of group projects within that class as well, to be able to work amongst each other and just help each other as well. And then another question is, has Galapagos given any advantage to getting scholarships or co-ops?
Yeah, indirectly. I wouldn't say that they directly kind of give you exclusive access to a scholarship or co-op, but the experience I gained, leadership experience in my committee, and then that I'm still working on now, definitely went on my resume and definitely got boosted probably is the reason I got some of the opportunities that I had because of that experience that I gained. It wasn't like anything that Galapagos did that they set it up. They said this is a scholarship for only Galileo and Hypatia students, but it was that they kind of contributed to help me build that resume, help me build that experience, kind of forced me to go to that engineering expo, kind of talk and build my elevator speech and kind of get comfortable in that environment. So yeah, there is an advantage, but it kind of indirectly.
And I'll expand on that even more. I think in comparison to students who aren't in the community, a lot of that stuff for preparation for the career fairs would have to be done on their own. But with the Galapagos seminar class, you'll be able to work on your elevator pitches ahead of time before the major engineering expo in the fall semester. You'll also be able to work on creating your resume, building that professional development, understanding how to create professional emails to send after an interview or after talking to a recruiter. I will say my first year, I did not have the luxury of having expo preview. And so then I was able to even stay within the community. And then about 2 years later, I was within the professional development committee as the committee liaison. And we were able to put on the expo preview for the students so that they could have that access to talk to recruiters and have that experience before even going into the actual expo, which is with every single engineering student. And so expo preview is just for first year engineering students within Galapagos to just have that opportunity and get their feet wet to talk to recruiters, talk to companies, and even possibly get internships or co-ops through that opportunity as well. And I will say one other thing is you can even put being a Galapagos student on your resume and talk that up in interviews or talk that up to recruiters as well, because we have a huge alumni resource and pool of students who were once Galapagos, and so they can definitely relate on a level in that sense as well. And so we have no more questions, and I know we are almost out of time. And so I will just wrap this up if no one has any further questions. Thank you all so much for coming to today's session. If you all have any questions, please feel free to email myself or anyone within Seed, and I can put my email within the chat for you all to see. If you have any additional questions or want to schedule a tour or any of that sort, feel free. Thank you so much for the panelists for being here tonight as well. And yes, everyone have a great night. Thank you again. Of course. And this concludes tonight's session. Thank you.